Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Digital++. It has been approximately 6 months since my last video, which I realize is a very long time. A lot happened in the past months. I've been mostly working on commercial projects and running AI classes. But I also started with a project named GAIA, which is a mobile device AI assistant, which is now under beta test on iOS. A limited version of GAIA will be available on GitHub. So yeah, the video I'm going to update you on today is what I've been working on and what that means for the BAM construct and the future of these videos. One thing that massively changed since I started these videos about 2 years ago is the use of AI for coding. Hence, coding videos are hardly relevant anymore. And therefore, I'm no longer going to do coding examples because you could just as well ask your AI. They'll probably do a better job than I would. As such, this is not going to be a coding video, but more of a video with explanations and demos and future directions. So let's roll up our sleeves and get into the weeds. So I've opened up the BAM construct in Unity 6. So what has changed in the project since the last time I did a video? Well, I added the LLM component from Google. So there is now a Google component that allows you to select Gemini models 2.0 and Gemini 2.5. And so this is now a good alternative to LLM Grok and the LLM Olama alternatives that we had before. Secondly, I added two 11 Labs components, an STT 11 Labs component, which allows you to use the 11 Labs speech-to-text scribe model. There's only one model available, and you can select multiple languages, in this case English, Dutch, but you can add your own German or whatever language you'd like as well. And we have an TTS 11 Labs, which allows you to use the text-to-speech capability from 11 Labs using one of their many voices, and you can even select the output quality. So that is 11 Labs. Then one big thing you will notice is that there is now a new component called AI Orchestrator. The AI Orchestrator is going to be the central place where you manage all your AI components. So at the moment we're still in a kind of a interim state. What the AI Orchestrator already does is that you can define which components are active. So in this case you see that for speech to text I'm using STT Grok OpenAI. The LLM Google component, I'm not using any rare components. I'm using the Speechify Simba component for text to speech, and I have a model for text to image. And for example, if you don't want to use text to image anymore, the easy thing is you just remove it and it's no longer active. In the future, we're going to build out more, like all the API prompts for the LLMs, etc. Those will be centrally stored here as well. But so at the moment, this is already a nice and convenient central place where you can activate and deactivate all your AI components. Now, what you will also see, let's open up the LLM Grok script. You see in the previous versions, we had a field here with your API keys. Now, obviously that is very insecure. So I removed all the API keys from the individual components and I added an API keys object. This script will read all the API keys from a text file, which is located under your assets/secure/API keys.txt. This is at the moment an unencrypted readable text file. That in itself obviously is not secure. But the good thing is that this file will, because of the configuration of GitHub, not be replicated on the GitHub repository. So you can safely replicate your project on GitHub. You can build your own encryption scripts that make sure that this API keys file is encrypted and stored locally in such a way that people cannot reversely engineer your API keys. But that is not going to be part of the BAM construct project. Okay, then the last two videos were all about the creation of 3D object with text to mesh. We're using a component of Sloyd API. But unfortunately, Sloyd has decided to abandon their API, and therefore I had to remove these components from the project. Now, the Sloyd TTM script is still available here in the project. If there's going to be a new text to mesh API available somewhere that we can leverage, we can very easily adapt this TTM Sloyd API file to the new API and automatically generate 3D models in our VR space again, which I think is still a very neat feature, but I was forced to remove that from the project. Okay, an example of what you can do with the BAM construct is shown over here. As I said, in the past couple of months, I've been working on a couple of commercial projects. One of them being an application built for a primary school audience. It is a complete village with a harbor. and the village is running on the VR headset on Meta Quest 3s. To fit the complete village into the VR headset and maintain the performance, I had to build a region structure that allowed it to scale so that it could fit a large portion of the village. So the region structure only shows the current structure that the player is in and the neighboring regions, and obviously when you move towards the next region, it'll remove the old regions and it'll add new more regions, and that way you can navigate through your whole topography. The application has a number of games, which includes a throwball game where you have to throw balls at cans and hit as many as you can, and there's a AI character that is providing some comments. Also, there's treasure hunting, so you need to try to find a chest with a digital lock, and you have to ask the NPC for the code, and then you can open the chest and get your treasures out. And then there's also a tennis game that allows multiple players to play tennis together with tennis rackets and the bouncing ball. And so yeah, that's a lot of fun for kids to play with. And there's also things like video screens, etc., etc. So this shows that the core of the BAM construct, as it's currently on GitHub, is really capable of scaling up to a big application like this. So what are future developments for the BAM construct? We can add a vision component to our NPCs so that it can see its world around itself and then autonomously react to that. That would be giving very cool new capabilities where you could start programming AI-powered NPCs and then observe how these NPCs behave in a virtual reality world. Also, we want to provide the NPCs with the ability to search the web. We would adding a RAG component, and in this case a RAG component to get web contents from a search engine like Google, for example. We would like to add additional STT, TTS, and text-to-image components. One of the things I would like to add is the Google speech-to-text and text-to-speech. Last but not least, we want to rename the project to OMNIA. And why would we want to rename that project to OMNIA? Well, that has to do with the following project. Okay, Project GAIA. What is GAIA? GAIA is your personal generative AI assistant. So GAIA is an abbreviation of Generative AI Assistant. So what is GAIA built on? Well, GAIA is built on the same base as the BAM constructor, OMNIA. However, it's designed for mobile platforms, so to run on iOS and Android, which means it would run on your iPhone, on your Samsung phone, on your iPad, or whatever. It also can run on Windows and Mac OS if you wanted to. GAIA runs as a single player application and it's non-VR. So it is basically the whole BAM construct stripped with all the netcode for game objects, VFox, OpenXR, making this a much more lean and mean project. GAIA already has vision capabilities. I'll show you that in a little bit. GAIA can do RAG, so provide answers based on your own documents. GAIA can already search the web, and at the moment GAIA is available on a limited beta testing group on the Apple Test Flight App Store. If you're interested in joining the beta test group, let me know on my Discord. The link to the Discord is in the description. Here's some footage of how GAIA works. You can ask GAIA a simple question. Hi there.
Hi there, Peter. How can I assist you?
You can scan a page of a book and ask GAIA to recap. What do these 2 pages say?
Okay, let me think. The right page discusses how information, including a disinformation, can distort reality, leading to skewed perceptions. The left page delves into absolute certainty, noting that our map of the world isn't reality itself, and explores philosophical views on knowledge and truth.
You could ask GAIA what these seeds are. From what plant are these seeds?
These appear to be seed pods from a lupine plant, Lupinus genus. They are characterized by their distinctive fuzzy, elongated shape, which is common for lupine seeds as they dry.
You could ask GAIA to search the web. For example, get the latest news. What is the latest news in Edinburgh?
Searching online. In Edinburgh, a nurse was cleared in a trans changing room tribunal. Celebrity hairdresser Charlie Miller has died. 3 women were arrested under the Terrorism Act after a van incident at a defense factory, and a man was sentenced for supplying fireworks to rioters.
And also there's a menu to change GAIA's voice and looks.
Changing to Ayana, changing to Chicago.
Switching to voice Julie.
Switching to voice Linda, changing to Aisha, changing to GAIA.
To be able to run GAIA on mobile platforms like iOS and Android, the API keys file, which I mentioned earlier, has to be robustly encrypted. And hence I implemented a server-based encryption mechanism, something that you could see here, for example. So the API script has now been extended with the ability to reach out to a server URL to get the encrypted API keys. And you can have a checkbox to decide whether or not you want to use the local API keys. Also, GAIA has more advanced smooth expression handling. For that, I extended the sync all blend shapes script. I added an NPC looks script that handles how GAIA looks. You can change the face, the hair, the eyes, the clothes, etc. So all this information you can now define in the inspector, which makes it really easy to reconfigure. So to recap, in a sense, GAIA is much simpler than OMNIA, as it doesn't have to deal with OpenXR, it doesn't have to do with netcode for game objects, it doesn't have to do with Vivox, it doesn't have to do with dynamic avatars, with finger tracking and all these kind of things. But GAIA is much more advanced than OMNIA when it comes to the variety of AI components and the implementation of these AI components and all of these additional capabilities. I'm planning to provide a very basic, simplified version of GAIA on my GitHub that will be posted soon. But it allows you to play around and test a little bit with GAIA if you are not interested in running AI on a VR platform, but rather want to use your mobile platform. So to quickly recap, there will be 2 projects available in GitHub. One will be OMNIA, formerly known as the BAM construct, which is an AI-powered VR base project. Multiplayer, it is targeted for VR platforms only. It includes AI NPCs. You could do RAG, but that's on request. RAG is still complex to configure, and therefore I need to provide a video first how you can configure the backend of RAG. So the OMNIA NPCs do not have web search yet, but they may in the future, and they don't have vision capabilities yet, but they may in the future. And the ability to manage expressions is much more limited. On the other hand, GAIA is a personal AI assistant, single player. It is running on a mobile platform. It is 100% AI targeted, which means it can do RAG, web search, vision, and tons of other things that we'll come up with. A little update on my GitHub page. So the people that followed my recent updates will have noticed that I've changed my GitHub repository. So for some reason where I won't go into too much detail, I lost access to my account and could no longer access the Digital++ repository. Hence, I was forced to start a completely new repository called Digital++. And so the old repository, Digital++, is still available, but it will no longer be updated because it is frankly orphaned. So I do understand that security is crucial, and I fully agree with that. But it should never ever lead to somebody having to lose access to your repository forever. Big companies like Microsoft and Google have their security together in a much better way. So from this point of view, shame on you, GitHub, for allowing a situation like this to happen. The consequence is that you will need to go to a new GitHub page if you want to access my repository, and that is on github.com/digital-++/bamconstruct. That is where the OMNIA project is currently located. And this rolls up this short update video on the BAM construct, now called OMNIA, and the new project GAIA. I hope you liked the video. If you do so, give me a like. Even better, subscribe to my channel. You can also join the Discord channel on discord.com/digital++. So the future videos that I'm going to make will be mostly how to figure videos, how to configure the BAM construct. So how do you download it? How do you set it up? How do you configure it to get it up and running? So I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much for your time and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.